Thank you, Kiran. Um, Pratibha Kundu, she will make a presentation. I think it will be there. So, चाहे तो जो उधर बैठे हैं, can they move? इधर chairs है, आप इधर आ जाओगे इधर, Louisa? No, those who are sitting there won't be able to दिख पाएंगे. आप इधर आ जाओ, नहीं तो इधर chairs हैं. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. We will talk. I will talk about the draft NEP that we have seen earlier, that 483 pages document, because ये 55 पेज वाला document basically क्या है वो पता नहीं, तो उसके हिसाब से मैं मेरा बात रखूँगी. उस ड्राफ्ट डॉक्यूमेंट में देयर आर 24 डाइवर्स थीम पे बात किया गया है. उसमें से एक है फाइनेंसिंग. दो फाइनेंसिंग इस डॉक्यूमेंट में एक चैप्टर होके नहीं आया है, एक एडेंडम और सप्लीमेंट्री एक सेक्शन होके आए हैं, बट देयर आर डिस्कशन ऑन फाइनेंसिंग more or less, I mean enough, but now the question is कैसे वो किया गया है. So the first thing is the document is saying that 5 पिलर के ऊपर ये पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट इज द वट एवर सजेशंस और रिकमेंडेशन डॉक्यूमेंट में दिया गया है, वो बेसिकली डिपेंडिंग ऑन 5 पिलर्स, एंड फाइनेंसिंग इज ऑल्सो depending on these 5 pillars. These are access, equity, quality, affordability and accountability. So ये एक प्री स्कूल टू हायर एजुकेशन तक एक सिंगल ऑर्गेनिक कॉन्टिन्यूम है, जहाँ पे इस 5 पिलर के बेसिस पे फाइनेंसिंग का कोई रिकमेंडेशन है. एंड द अदर थिंग इज द 2 प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ प्रिंसिपल रिकमेंडेशन जिसके ऊपर ये कमिटी ने सारा रिकमेंडेशंस दिए हैं. फर्स्ट इज that education is an investment, it's not an expenditure, and दूसरा is education is not for profit activity. These are very, I mean this is obviously we should appreciate this, because in this neoliberal market structure में कोई बोल रहे हैं कि ये not for profit activity, तो सुन के अच्छा लगता है कि on which principle the recommendations are being made. पहले something in positive notes that what are this NEP rightly acknowledges in this document. पहला चीज़ जो सबने कहा कि हाँ, it has said that public provisioning of education important है, and इसलिए there is a need of higher investment. दूसरा चीज़ इस डॉक्यूमेंट ने कहा कि there is under allocation throughout in the whole education system, और उस under allocation is leading to under utilization of resources also. और देयर इज़ इनएफिशिएंट फंड यूटिलाइजेशन. कहाँ से ये जनरेट हो रहा है? क्योंकि प्लानिंग प्रोसेस ही डिसेंट्रलाइज नहीं है, ये एक टॉप डाउन अप्रोच से प्लानिंग हो रहा है, टॉप टू बॉटम जा रहा है, इसलिए देयर इज़ प्रॉब्लम. दूसरे है देयर इज़ बॉटलनेक्स इन बजटरी प्रोसेस, क्योंकि फंड फ्लो में बहुत डिलेज होते हैं, बहुत लेट में स्टेट के पास पैसे पहुंचते हैं, स्टेट से डिस्ट्रिक्ट एंड सो ऑन अप टू स्कूल, इसलिए ठीक से वो रिसोर्स यूटिलाइजेशन नहीं हो पाते हैं. And third is systemic weakness. There is, especially they have talked about human resources, not only teachers, but in every frontline providers, whoever is responsible for education, there is shortage at every aspect. That's why these are the few things the new education policy has rightly acknowledges. So on the basis of these 2-3 principles, what are the recommendations they have suggested? The first recommendation, that is public investment to improve quality and equity of education. So for that क्या चाहिए? They have said कि public in there अभी 10% of total aggregate expenditure, मतलब सेंटर एंड स्टेट मिला के टोटल बजट का 10% एजुकेशन पे खर्च करते हैं. सो बाय इन कमिंग 10 years ये इंक्रीज करके 20% करना चाहिए. और वो कैसे कि हर साल में 1% इंक्रीज होना है, सो इसलिए 10 साल में 10% इंक्रीज हो जाएगा. सो दैट इज़ द Srijita. That is the whole logic behind the way they want to increase the expenditure. Now how this will possible, that also they have been suggested कि क्यों ऐसा हो सकता है, क्योंकि हमारा इकोनॉमी बहुत रैपिडली ग्रोथ होगा. अकॉर्डिंग टू नीति आयोग का एस्टिमेशन के 2025 by 2025 $10 trillion इकोनॉमी हो जाएगा हमारा. So there will be enough improvement. So I have put it red. I wrote it in a red color because we all know how the economy is growing right now. Whatever, if there is rapid pace of economic growth and there will be improvement in tax GDP ratio भी बढ़ जाएगा, तो उसका असर एजुकेशन के स्पेंडिंग के भी पड़ेगा. बट प्रॉब्लम इज देयर, एक तो ये दोनों चीज़ पे प्रॉब्लम है, बट दूसरा प्रॉब्लम ये है देयर इज़ नो ऑटोमेटिक एश्योरेंस कि इकोनॉमिक ग्रो करेगा और टैक्स जीडीपी रेशियो बढ़ने से ही हायर स्पेंडिंग ऑन एजुकेशन होगा. मैंने कुछ डेटा इकोनॉमिक सर्वे एंड इंडियन पब्लिक फाइनेंस स्टैटिस्टिक्स से लिया. दो पीरियड में कंपैरिजन है, 2012-13 एंड 2016-17. इफ यू सी द जीडीपी ग्रोथ इन 2012-13 वाज 5.5%. 16-17 में वो इंक्रीज होकर 8.2% है. ये ईयर ऑन ईयर ग्रोथ निकाला गया है. टैक्स जीडीपी रेशियो हैज आल्सो इंक्रीज 17.26% टू 17.82%. Total government expenditure as percent of GDP has also increased 27% से 29.5% है. But if you look at education expenditure as percentage of total expenditure, it has decreased from 11.6% to 10.7%. So the thing is that if even there is improvement in there is economic growth, not necessarily वो education पे खर्चा होगा, but हम लोग उम्मीद कर सकते हैं obviously कि if there is improvement in tax GDP ratio, there will be increase in education. So in this process जो इस कमिटी ने कहा कि टोटल 10% इंक्रीज होगा सेंटर एंड स्टेट मिला के, उसमें भी अलग अलग से कहा गया है कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का एक्सपेंडिचर ऑन एजुकेशन हैज़ टू बी डबल्ड, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर टू बी इंक्रीज सिग्निफिकेंटली एटलीस्ट 20% ऑफ द टोटल एक्सपेंडिचर for some states. And also another suggestion दिया गया है कि there should be dedicated specific revenue stream. उसका example है cess. Now coming to the union government expenditure for the last few years, last 5 साल में हम लोग देखेंगे तो in terms of total government expenditure or in terms of GDP, there is a declining trend. Continuously union government पैसा education पे घटा रहा है. That means अगर यूनियन एंड स्टेट मिला के एक्सपेंडिचर कर रहे हैं, तो अगर यूनियन गवर्नमेंट घट रहा है तो स्टेट के ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है टू इंक्रीज देयर स्पेंडिंग. नाउ देयर इज़ अ सीरीज ऑफ न्यू पॉलिसी सजेशंस इन दिस डॉक्यूमेंट. It has talked about RT Act को extension from preschool to 3 to 18 years old. Expansion of midday meal के बारे में कहा गया है no temporary teachers. That means हमें और ज़्यादा human resource चाहिए. That means हमें और ज़्यादा financial resource to be in place. थोड़ा बहुत एग्जाम्पल ऑफ टीचर्स का देना चाहते हैं. हम लोग एक स्टडी किए थे क्राई के साथ फॉर 6 स्टेट्स. इफ़ वी लुक एट द फिगर, यह है एलिमेंट्री लेवल पे एजुकेशन में, एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन में टीचर्स का क्या स्टेटस है. इफ़ यू लुक द लास्ट कॉलम कि कितना वैकेंसी है अगेंस्ट द सैंक्शन पोस्ट. बिहार में 34%, यूपी में 29% एट्सेट्रा. सृजित, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. एंड ये है सेकेंडरी लेवल पे सब्जेक्ट टीचर का कितना कमी है, जो सुबह भी हम लोग बात कर रहे थे. एक एग्जांपल ले लीजिए, ये यहाँ पे दिया गया है प्यूपिल टीचर रेशियो, मतलब हर एक सब्जेक्ट में कितने बच्चे के एक टीचर कितने बच्चे को पढ़ा रहा है. सो बिहार में इंग्लिश में एक टीचर पढ़ा रहा है 1995 स्टूडेंट्स को. वेस्ट बंगाल में मैथ्स पढ़ा रहा है 858 बच्चे को एक टीचर्स पढ़ा रहा है. सो यू कैन सी कि कितना ज़्यादा शॉर्टेज है सेकेंडरी लेवल पे इवन फॉर सब्जेक्ट टीचर्स. नाउ 2015 में एक नीति आयोग का एक सब ग्रुप बने थे चीफ मिनिस्टर्स का, जिन्होंने सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर्ड स्कीम में, मतलब जो सारे स्कीम सेंटर एंड स्टेट मिला के जिसमें फाइनेंस पैसे डालते हैं, उसमें किस शेयर में पैसा सेंटर देगा, कितना परसेंटेज पैसा स्टेट देगा, उसके ऊपर कुछ रिकमेंडेशंस था. उसके साथ ये भी कहा गया था कि सेंटर 2012 टू 17 में हमारा 12th प्लान था, उसके बाद 12th प्लान ख़त्म हो गया. एंड उसमें कहा गया था इसके बाद से सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट और यूनियन गवर्नमेंट कोई पैसा, देयर विल बी नो मोर मनी फ्रॉम यूनियन गवर्नमेंट फॉर remuneration or additional hiring for any human resources. It is state's responsibility. Now Coming to states, the recommendation that is specifically has been stated in this document, कि individual state government along with State Department of Education should give enough resources for to schools adequately, and also by 2022 there should be adequate teachers, physical infrastructure, learning resources. So not only the union government के अपने financing के पैटर्न से स्टेट के ऊपर ज़्यादा पैसा जा रहा है, चीफ मिनिस्टर स्टेट को ज़्यादा पैसा देना पड़ता है द चीफ मिनिस्टर सब कमिटी के रिकमेंडेशन से, बट ऑल्सो दिस पॉलिसी ऑल्सो पुटिंग मोर फोकस ऑन द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. सो ये देख के अब जो जो क्वेश्चंस दिमाग में आते हैं, सिंस दो एजुकेशन इज इन कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट, मतलब यूनियन गवर्नमेंट एंड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट दोनों का ही रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है फॉर फाइनेंसिंग, बट जैसे यूनियन गवर्नमेंट खुद को विदड्रॉ कर रहा है फाइनेंसिंग से, वेदर स्टेट विल बी रेडी टू बेयर दिस एडिशनल कॉस्ट, पहला क्वेश्चन है. और अगर रेडी भी है तो जो एग्जिस्टिंग पैटर्न ऑफ रिसोर्स शेयरिंग है, वेदर दैट विल बी फॉलोड. व्हाट वुड बी द कॉस्ट शेयरिंग ऑफ ह्यूमन रिसोर्स रिक्वायरमेंट, बिकॉज इतना जो लोग चाहिए, इतना जो शॉर्टेज ऑफ ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेस है. सो इससे दो मतलब क्वेश्चंस दिमाग में आता है, तो फिर क्या होने वाला है, वेदर देयर फ्यूचर में कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअलाइजेशन ऑफ इन अपॉइंटमेंट्स होगा कि ये टोटली हैंडिंग एजुकेशन ओवर द मार्केट्स, बिकॉज नीदर सेंटर नॉट स्टेट विल बी एबल टू स्पेंड सो मच मनी, क्योंकि वो फिजिकल डेफिसिट के बाद तो द फिजिकल रिसोर्स कॉन्स्टेंट के बाद दोनों के लिए ही आ जाते हैं. Coming to sales-driven allocation, it is 3% of sales on income tax goes for education. तो ये एजुकेशन सेस में 2% ऑलवेज एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन पे गए हैं, सर्व शिक्षा अभियान एंड मिड डे मील पे, और बाकी 1% हायर एजुकेशन पे. अगर हम लोग कैग का रिपोर्ट देखें, हर साल कैग रिपोर्ट निकलते हैं, वी हैव सीन 17-18 में 1977 करोड़ प्राइमरी शिक्षा कोष, या जो मतलब जो डेडिकेटेड फंड है एजुकेशन सेस का फॉर प्राइमरी एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन के लिए, उस पर गए ही नहीं है. और ओवरऑल फ्रॉम 2007 से देखेंगे तो 94,000 करोड़ जो कलेक्ट हुआ था, वो किसी तरह से कहाँ पे गए हैं, कैसे खर्च हुआ है, क्या हो रहा है, उसके बारे में कोई खबर ही नहीं है, क्योंकि देयर इज़ नो डेडिकेटेड फंड. तो हम लोग सेस के ऊपर इतना डिपेंड कर रहा है, इधर सेस का पैसा नहीं जा रहा है, या अनयूज रह रहा है, या अगर सेस पे कलेक्शन ही नहीं हुआ, सेस कलेक्शन, तो इसके ऊपर डिपेंड करके तो हम लोग एजुकेशन का बजटिंग का प्लानिंग नहीं कर सकते हैं. थर्ड ऑल्टरनेटिव सोर्स ऑफ फंडिंग, जिसके बारे में बहुत चर्चा हुआ है, ये लोगों ने जो कहा है कि कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फ्रॉम पब्लिक सेक्टर एंटरप्राइजेस और अंडरटेकिंग से आएगा. दूसरा है फिलैंथ्रोपिक फंडिंग, जिसमें प्राइवेट कंपनी, अलमनाई एंड लोकल कम्युनिटीज़, रिलीजियस इंस्टीट्यूशंस, इस सब की बात किया गया है. एंड थर्ड इज tax incentives to encourage individual and companies for philanthropic activities. Now हम लोग जिस तरह से देख रहे हैं कि पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग्स का सिचुएशन हो रहा है, स्पेशली एट स्टेट लेवल, तो अगर हम लोग एक्सपेक्ट करें कि CSR कंट्रीब्यूशन फ्रॉम PSU विल फाइनेंस एजुकेशन, दैट्स अ वेरी मच अ डिस्कनेक्ट बिटवीन पॉलिसी प्रेस्क्रिप्शन एंड पॉलिसी एक्शन. दूसरा चीज़ ये है, हम लोग थोड़ा बहुत कैलकुलेट करने की कोशिश किए थे कि CSR एक्टिविटी से कितना, ऑब्वियसली एजुकेशन एंड स्किल एजुकेशन पे सबसे ज़्यादा पैसा अभी CSR मनी जा रहे हैं, मगर हम लोग कोशिश किए थे कैलकुलेट करने के लिए कितना पैसा एग्जैक्टली जा रहा है. तो वी हैव सीन जो अमाउंट था वो बेसिकली MHRD का टोटल बजट का 7% आ रहा है, या टोटल कंट्रीज GDP का 0.033% ऑफ GDP आ रहा है. मतलब ये बहुत ही मतलब मिनिमल एक मीगर एलोकेशन है. तो इसके हिसाब से ये कोई ऑल्टरनेटिव फाइनेंसिंग तो नहीं हो सकते हैं. ऑन टैक्स इंसेंटिव्स के जो बात किए हैं, उसके बारे में जस्ट बोला ही गया है कि टैक्स इंटेंसिव्स के बारे में सोचा जाएगा, मगर उसके लिए कोई कॉन्क्रीट सजेशन ही है नहीं है. तो थिंग इज, लास्ट थिंग दैट आई वांटेड टू मेंशन इज दैट व्हाटएवर सजेशंस, रिकमेंडेशंस दे हैव गिवन, उसके ऊपर द लास्ट रिकमेंडेशंस और लास्ट फाइनल थिंग इट हैज़ बीन टॉक्ड अबाउट कि देयर इन राज्य के स्तर में देयर वुड बी राज्य शिक्षा आयोग फॉर एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन एंड हायर एजुकेशन के लेवल पे है राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा आयोग, बट दे आर द this is the body who will review the budget. It's saying the budget and their utilization by all agencies of the government of India related to education in any way will be reviewed and approved by Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog. and spending will be prioritized accordingly in order to ensure coordination and sustained efforts in the direction of educational vision. इसमें प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे है? प्रॉब्लम यहीं पे है कि राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा आयोग का हेड है हमारा प्राइम मिनिस्टर. सो इट कैनॉट, मतलब ये बहुत ज़्यादा सेंट्रलाइज्ड होगा, एंड प्रायोरिटी अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर का प्रायोरिटी अब प्रायोरिटाइज किया जाए तो वी हैव देयर इज़ क्वेश्चन कि किस तरह से एलोकेट किया जाएगा रिसोर्स, और किस कौन सी एरिया को प्रायोरिटी दिया जाएगा, किस टाइप का रिसर्च को या एजुकेशन को प्रायोरिटी दिया जाएगा. एंड सो इन दिस होल प्रोसेस, इन द होल रिकमेंडेशंस, जो कुछ चीज़ें मतलब बोल के भी बहुत दूर की हो गई. एक तो हम लोग बहुत दिन से ये 6% ऑफ जीडीपी के मांग कर रहे हैं, बट ये अब मीडियम टर्म से लॉन्ग टर्म पॉलिसी हो गया, मतलब कॉन्टिन्यूसली वी आर शिफ्टिंग द गोल पोस्ट. ऊपर से ये जो गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर 10% बढ़ा दो बोल रहे हैं, इसका तो जिस तरह से हमारा ग्रोथ हो रहा है, तो ये बहुत ही डिफ़िकल्ट हो जाएगा कि हर एक साल में 10% खाली एजुकेशन के लिए ही जाए. तो इसके लिए अगर एजुकेशन में बढ़ाएगा तो दूसरा कोई सोशल सेक्टर में काट देगा, या हेल्थ या वाटर सैनिटेशन, जो नाइदर एथिकल और नॉर ये सिचुएशन में हम लोग नहीं आए कि दूसरा सेक्टर को डिप्राइव करके इट्स नॉट अ रियलिटी के एजुकेशन पे पैसा दे. एंड तीसरा ये है, स्टेट जैसे स्टेट लेवल पे भी 20% इंक्रीज करने के लिए अप टू 20% खर्चा करने के लिए बोला गया है. स्टेट्स लाइक बिहार is already spending around 18% of total government expenditure on education. राजस्थान also. तो क्या मतलब होगा अगर वो लोग ये सारा स्टेट्स 20% भी कर दे, तो इससे कोई मतलब नहीं होता है. सो खाली सो कीपिंग द रिकमेंडेशन ऑफ टोटल एक्सपेंडिचर इन टर्म्स, टोटल एजुकेशन एक्सपेंडिचर इन टर्म्स ऑफ टोटल एग्रीगेट एक्सपेंडिचर भी गलत है. अगर हम लोग ये जीएसडीपी और जीडीपी के टर्म से भी देखें, ये भी सही पिक्चर नहीं देगा. आई थिंक देयर इन recommendations we have also sent a recommendation, it should be 3. per capita expenditure भी देखना चाहिए, as percentage of GDP भी देखना चाहिए, and percentage of total aggregate expenditure भी देखना चाहिए. whether इन तीनों इंडिकेटर के हिसाब से इंक्रीज कर रहा है तो इट मेक सेंस कि हाँ हम कुछ इंक्रीज हो रहा है. अदरवाइज the way the recommendations have been given and the way the functioning, the implementation is happening, both are going in different directions. Thank you.
थैंक यू प्रतिभा. बहुत अच्छा से कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली पॉलिसी रिकमेंडेशन और बजटरी कॉन्स्ट्रेंट्स को समझाया. सुकन्या विल नाउ स्पीक.
Yeah. Can we have the full screen, please?
You have a PPT?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. दिख रहा है? Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to National RT Forum and CBGA for organizing me and for having me as part of this workshop and deliberation. I'll use both the languages because I'm not very comfortable with Hindi alone. So when we are looking at draft NEP and the question of finances, that's what we are beginning with. तो प्रतिभा ने जैसे किया, मैं भी let me stress on the positive first. इसमें क्या positive है? हाँ, so what it says is, from the existing 10% of the overall expenditure which the government spends, that in a 10 years time is going to go up to 20%. Okay, so if 1 out of 10 rupees of the public expenditure is being spent on education now, in 10 years time 2 out of 10 rupees is going to be spent on education. Okay, so it is a damn good thing that we are going to be spending more out of the same. Again, if we assume that as a proportion of GDP, at the rate at which the GDP grows, expenditure also grows at the same rate, then what we are going to have is that elusive 6%, जो कि अभी तक नहीं हुआ है, that also we might be able to attain, because we are doubling the expenditure as a proportion of the overall. And if we assume that the overall expenditure, so there's a caveat here, just listen to it carefully, the overall expenditure, that is the size of the government, is going to increase at the same rate as the overall GDP, then in 10 years' time, we are going to be touching that 6% of GDP mark. So underlying this, there is a hint of possibility here. हाँ कि हम शायद 6% of GDP तक पहुंच जाएंगे, assuming we are spending about 3 to 4% of GDP. So that is the positive part. But again, it calls for a huge amount of huge sacrifices that, or huge kind of adjustments that Pratibha had pointed to. Okay, so having stated this, now let's see what is it that if we try and kind of look through the layers inside the policy, what is it that it is saying? So can we have the next? So I'm going to raise just 4 issues in this, and let's see if in the discussion we can have some more. First thing is that when we come to the normative, हम किसी भी normative को when we are trying to define, so उसके अंदर कई सारे assumptions होते हैं. हाँ? For instance, a normative for education would be based on at least 2 things. What is desirable? हमारा लक्ष्य क्या है? And what are the costs for that? So if, for instance, for teachers, we need to specify the PTRs, and along with the PTRs, the minimum things we have to do is the salary of the teacher. What is the underlying salary of the teacher that you are assuming? Are you assuming an equitable salary for all, or are you assuming para teachers? So this is one important thing. Normative में और एक चीज़ हो सकता है कि how much, what is the place of the, what is the size of the private that you are assuming? In this entire policy document, that's silent. Private, in 10 years' time, what is it that is going to be the size of the private? And what is it going to be the, since now public is almost a residual, तो public का size क्या रह जाएगा, public school system का, और private school system का size क्या हो गया? That is again a very important part, how we determine the normative. Okay? The other way of looking at a normative is, say, looking at per child, how much is it that you are going to spend? Yeah? So do we have an idea from this document what is being implied in terms of any of these indicators? We don't. What is the management cost going to be? Yeah? And it is not that we don't have research on this. We have enough research on this, right from Kothari Commission, who started by looking at the teacher cost vis-a-vis the non-teacher cost. What should be the proportion there? What should be the PTR? Right from the 60s, we have had very detailed estimations of the resource requirement for the system. So what this draft NEP has done is it has stated, it has put out some final numbers, but we have no idea as what has gone within it. Yeah? So that is the first thing that we must ask is, and we have addressed this to the commission, is what is the normative based on? What is this time path that you are suggesting? What are the underlying assumptions? Please give us the calculations. That transparency and that debate and that feedback is very important. Yeah, if we are to understand these numbers with any amount of scientific rigor. The second thing then we say is that what you are suggesting is too little and too late. Can we have the next slide? Yeah. Are you able to see this? Okay. 3 of us, myself along with Priyanto Ghosh and Arvind Sardana from Eklavya, 3 of us have worked on this one research study, which I've presented at other forums, so some of you may have heard me also. And it is also, it's an NIPFP study, so you can access it. So we have tried to calculate what is it that is required for successfully for a minimum decent quality RTE to be implemented. What is the resource requirement? What is that is needed? So in terms of as a proportion of GDP, we find that about 1.2 to 1.4% of the GDP is additionally required for every year to cover the public schools that we already have in the system and 15 million out of school children. 15 million out of school children is based on the NSSO 2014-15 round. So if we assume there are 15 million out of school children and the children currently studying in the public education system, along with the system level cost, teacher training costs, and other stuff, we find that 1.4% of the GDP per year needs to be allocated extra. Am I clear on this? 1.4% of the GDP needs to be allocated extra. However, since this committee has given its recommendations based on as a proportion of the overall expenditure, we have converted it in the we have normalized it in a similar manner. So what we find is, as per our calculations, just for the elementary bracket, what you require is 4.9%. Okay, 4.9% is the additional requirement as percentage of overall public expenditure. Okay.
That's more than 6% then.
No. It's not GDP.
By public expenditure.
As a overall. Now, what does the draft NEP suggest for the entire school education system, however? And it has some new elements which we haven't accounted for. For instance, as Pratibha said, there's food, nutrition, which talks about breakfast and enhanced nutrition component, a damn good thing. But then, where is the money? So, if we add these 4 components, the first one is foundational literacy and numeracy. This is just reproduced as from the report itself. So foundational literacy and numeracy, National Tutors Program, remedial instruction, instructional aids program, libraries, 0.2%. Then it is schools, additional teacher costs, it's about 2%. And then food, nutrition, MDM is 1.3%. And finally, teacher education and continuing professional development is 0.6%. The overall is 4.1. Yeah, this is going to be spread across 12 years. And plus, notice that this is going to kick in only after 10 years. That because you are increasing 1% at a time. So that 4.1% is going to be available only in a 10 years time. So it is again a matter of too little and too late. You will again be spreading the resources thinly across many more people. Of course, this possibly now gets revised because as we get to know, now they are going to not insist on extension of RTE to class 12th and similarly to the early childhood. So, but the initial calculations that they made is this, that 4.1% of the additional expenditure is going to be covering this. Of the overall expenditure is going to be covering this. So it is a matter of inadequate funding, again getting reproduced, and then you are also pushing the timeline now to 10 years. Okay, can we go back to the first one? Yes. Yeah. The third thing is this, again, something that Pratibha also spoke about, is this unequal positions of the states. While it is a national policy, you don't expect the national to be unconscious of what the states are doing or where are the states positioned. Yeah. So today, as per our estimates, we see that the states are positioned very, very unequally vis-a-vis their needs and their resourcing abilities. Yeah. So if we see, we have the states on the x-axis, and the actual expenditure as a percentage of requirement is what is being plotted. So in Bihar, the actual expenditure is only a quarter of what is required. This is for elementary education alone. Yeah. But
Required is the AWP.
no, required is what we have estimated. That is the
Your
no,
estimation,
yeah.
number of students, your estimation,
yeah.
not their submissions.
No. That is what we have estimated. And okay, let me tell you, our estimations put the the expenditure per child at a norm which is much lower than the KV. The KV spending is about 34,000 per child in the year 2015-16. Our average, this is the all India average. There are lots of variations across states because this is absolutely unit level. We have worked our way from the unit school level data. So for different states, it's different, but the all India average for us is about 24,000. 24,000 approximately is the all India average. Why is it lower than the KV? Because we haven't used the KV sixth pay commission salary. We have used the salary scales of Tamil Nadu, yeah, which is slightly lower than the what is being paid. So even despite therefore a very reasonable per student expenditure of 24,000 per year, this is the picture that arises. Yeah. So Bihar, but also a lot of these northeastern states, Meghalaya, for instance, which is again running on para teachers, Jharkhand, Tripura, Orissa, Manipur, Assam, West Bengal. Till Rajasthan, it's less than 50% of what the requirement is. Yeah, and some states are only states like UP. You would be surprised are doing reasonably well, but that's only because in UP a large chunk of population has already shifted to the low-fee private schools. Yeah, a very high presence of private schools in Delhi. So the kind of the people who are beneficiaries of the public system are therefore much less. Therefore, the requirement itself you are underestimating. So this is the kind of picture that emerges. However, you don't see any reflection of this in the national education policy in terms of the different treatment of the states. Different states require different kind of help, therefore. So Bihar, for instance, is this is the amount of resource inadequacy that you see across states. So Bihar requires 10% of its GSDP as additional requirement. Only for elementary education, Bihar requires 10% of 10% of its GSDP. But so are a whole lot of states where we have just put 16 states here, all of which the additional requirement is more than 1% of the GSDP. So from here, it is very clear, evident, very self-evident that these states can't do it on their own because they actually don't have the resources. The next slide, please. This is the same graph plotted vis-a-vis their revenue receipts. What is the revenue receipts they have, including what they get from the center. So again, you see this picture where the additional requirement is very high in proportion to what their revenue base is. This is over and above what they're already spending. This is the additional requirement as a proportion of your revenue receipts. So what we have argued in our paper, and I'll come back to the draft NEP, we have also made a presentation before the Finance Commission on this, is that these states need a special support. If we are talking about equitable financing, equitable education for all, we cannot disregard the differential positions of the state vis-a-vis their revenue capacities. And we cannot wait. So these states will require special support. As Pratibha pointed out, Bihar already spends about 19% of its overall expenditure on education. So what is immediately required is to increase the overall expenditure. Going from 19 to 20, even if it can do it, is not going to fetch much because the gap is so huge, you see, and they require a major central push. Central push not in terms of dadagiri of the center, not in terms of centralization where the center dictates all the terms and conditions, but central push in terms of genuine fiscal concurrency, which V.K.R.V. Rao had talked about. Yeah, this fiscal concurrency and financial concurrency has been a part of our discourse for a very long time. Wherever especially when the states are in unequal positions, the center will have to step in to equalize these differences. Finance Commission is one such body which does this. Planning Commission was one such body which used to do it, but we no longer have it anymore. So now we only have the Finance Commission to appeal to. And
The underutilization in these states, or is there none in your study?
we are not looking, that's not the research question here.
So you don't know whether there is or not.
There is
So
underutilization.
that's one of the arguments that is presented, is that there's no point increasing the finances because they're not using them.
Can I come back to it?
Yeah, so I just wanted to check in case you had that.
No. Yeah. So, again, this is from what, again, Pratibha had also presented this. The center's contribution to elementary education spending, which had gone up very, very significantly. It's there in Professor Govinda's work. He mentions it a lot, that NEP really, then 86, NEP really brought in, given a new kind of impetus to the way the center stepped in to rethink education. And that you see in the center's contribution to elementary education spending, which went up steeply, went up till the year probably 2005, 6, 6, 7. But even before the RT was passed, this begins to go down. And now it has gone down to a level almost where we were in the early 2000s. Yeah, the center's contribution to overall spending is really going down. So while we are arguing for a central push, and while this policy document also very romantically says that the center is to double it, the actual trend is the reverse. So this is a kind of a, we must keep this in mind. The center is really stepping out of this arena in terms of, it wants a national policy, but it doesn't want to spend. Yeah? So that's where we are located. So it is a very worrisome situation where we are talking about big things, a doubling of overall education expenditure as a doubling is what is being projected, but the grim realities are pretty different, and I don't think this policy is nuanced enough to catch any of that. Yeah, thanks.
सबको पूछने का, I mean, to leave it open to everyone, I want to make a couple of comments. Sorry, मेरा हिंदी इतनी अच्छी नहीं है. एक तो बहुत अच्छा से इनसे हमें जो पता चला कि how policy is looking at financing of education or how actual public provisioning have been. और जो किरण pointed out कि मैक्रो लेवल में कितना दे रहे के साथ हमें देखना चाहिए क्या कंपोजिशन है. और एक चीज़ जो बाहर आई कि जो स्टेट्स हैं, स्टेट्स को समान हिस्सा नहीं मिल रहे हैं, डिफरेंट एलोकेशन हो रहे हैं. और जो मुझे बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लगा कि जहाँ जहाँ शॉर्टफॉल बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, बिहार एंड उड़ीसा एंड वेस्ट बंगाल एंड ऑल, ये सब जगह है जहाँ गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर इज़ लार्ज. हाँ, और जहाँ गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर लार्ज, उधर ऑब्वियसली द मोस्ट डिसएडवांटेज्ड आर देयर. एंड जैसे घर में खाना कम हो जाता है, पैसा कम हो जाता है, तो वुमेन के खाना कम मिलता है, मेन का ज़्यादा मिलता है. सिमिलरली जहाँ टोटल अमाउंट कम हो जाता है, देयर इज़ एन ऑटोमेटिक राशनिंग और कोटा, और जहाँ जो प्रिविलेज्ड उसके पास ज़्यादा जाता है और बाकी का कम जाता है. सो इन अ सेंस वो जो जेंडर बजटिंग इश्यूज़ होती है और शेड्यूल कास्ट या शेड्यूल ट्राइब एजुकेशन होता है, जहाँ टोटल कम हो जाता है, उनको डिसएडवांटेज ज़्यादा होता है. सो इक्विटी के हिसाब से अंडर बजटिंग एक्चुअली अफेक्ट्स द डिसएडवांटेज्ड मच मोर. एंड द अदर थिंग, जो इधर हमें स्कोप नहीं मिल रहे हैं, जो आप लोग जो फील्ड में हैं देख सकते हैं कि एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कुछ जो पैसा एलोकेटेड होता है वो अनइवनली स्कूल्स के अंदर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड होता है. और वन ऑफ द मेन खर्चा जो सरकार से आते हैं वो टीचर सैलरी है, बट कितनी टीचर स्कूल में रहेंगे उसके ऊपर देयर इज़ नॉट दैट एवरी स्कूल हैज़ सिमिलर टाइप ऑफ टीचर वैकेंसी. कोई स्कूल में सारे टीचर्स हैं, कोई स्कूल में बहुत कम टीचर्स हैं, और कौन सी टीचर एलोकेटेड होगा बहुत ज़्यादा हेड टीचर के बार्गेनिंग पावर और पॉलिसी के ऊपर डिपेंड करते हैं. तो मुझे वही लग रहा है कि थोड़ा इवन एट द बजट वर्क के लिए लोकल लेवल में इफ़ लोग one can see कि who's receiving more and who's less and how to put in a system जो individual agency के ऊपर depend नहीं करता. You can demand कि हमें इतना मिले. और I think I'll leave it open to others to discuss. I mean आप लोगों को बहुत सारे insights होगा.
Intentionally doesn't want to invest in filling the vacancies, infrastructure and all. Is that the reason? If we are speaking of underutilization, then what is the use of the additional fund? What would have been the reason for underutilization of funds?
हाँ जी, नमस्कार, मेरा नाम सिद्धार्थ है. मेरे 3 सवाल हैं. पहला सवाल है कि आई थिंक जो सर ने पूछा उसी से जुड़ा हुआ है कि क्या हम अंडर यूटिलाइजेशन को भी टच कर पा रहे हैं इस पूरे डिबेट में. आई थिंक जैसे किरण जी ने पॉइंट आउट किया था कि बहुत बार आर्गुमेंट होता है डिपार्टमेंट ऑफिशियल्स का कि पैसा जो है वही खर्च नहीं कर रहे हैं तो और क्या देना. उसके कारण क्या हैं उस चीज़ को. और दूसरा कि जब हम बात करते हैं कि एजुकेशन सेक्टर में फंडिंग की कमी है जितना होना चाहिए, तो कई बार दूसरी साइड से आर्गुमेंट ये आता है कि हर सेक्टर में फंडिंग की कमी है क्योंकि जो हमारे देश का फाइनेंस है, हमारा देश का बजट है, उसकी एक लिमिटेशन है. तो सबको ही बांट के मिल रहा है, सबको ही कमी मिल रही है. तो हम उसको किस तरीके से डिबेट में ला सकते हैं कि फॉर एग्जांपल डिफेंस से फंडिंग यहाँ पे आ सकती है इस तरीके से, या किसी और सेक्टर से फंडिंग यहाँ पे आ सकती है. क्या उस तरह के सवालों के ऊपर हमें एज अ फोरम जाना चाहिए. और आई थिंक तीसरा सवाल आप दोनों के लिए था जिन्होंने प्रेजेंटेशन दी. क्या ये प्रेजेंटेशन आप शेयर कर सकते हैं ताकि हम आगे लोगों तक पहुंच सकें. थैंक यू.
As you mentioned that education cess is 3%. तो टोटल बजट जो एजुकेशन का है इसमें कितना सेस का है, कितना गवर्नमेंट का है. द टोटल बजट फॉर एजुकेशन में सेस जो हमारा अपना पब्लिक का कितना कंट्रीब्यूशन है और गवर्नमेंट का कितना कंट्रीब्यूशन है. नहीं वो तो ठीक है, वो तो ठीक है. ये स्पेशली जो है हम जो हाँ सेस और नॉन सेस का जो है.
I have 2-3 points to make. First one is about the cess money which was referred to. I would say that this is basically dishonesty of the national government. Because when the cess was imposed first time, that 2%, afterwards it was increased to 3%. 2% when it was cessed, it was very clearly said that this will be additionality to the revenue sources. Existing revenue sources will be retained and this will be additionality. What quietly that was done was that it was not transferred to the Shiksha Kosh, because if it was transferred to Shiksha Kosh, it's a vehicle which you cannot use for anything else, and it was put in the consolidated fund so that it can be misused. And as a result, what has happened, it has replaced the revenue sources which were there already. Quite a bit of it has been replaced. Not additionality has not significantly come. Initially it was used limited way, but gradually it has become integrated in that fashion. I think it's only dishonesty, I don't know. Because when it was said, if I remember the debates, it was said that isko to legislation mein lana chahiye. In other words, this cess that it will be dedicated use only for primary education should not be left to the government's decision. Isme legislation mein ye bhi likh dena chahiye. Then it is a financial allocation, directly it will go to it. Lekin ye to kiya hi nahi legislation. The second point that was made about the RSA, the Rashtriya Shiksha, what is that? Ayog. I think there is not much to talk about Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog now. In the revised 55-page document, it is not the Prime Minister who chairs, it is only the Education Minister, and the role of the RSA is only advisory. It has not been statutory, although it's a very contradictory way that has been, ambiguous way it has been put. It is only, और हम जानते हैं कि जहाँ गवर्नमेंट में तो इफ एक मिनिस्टर चेंज करने से वो तो दूसरे मिनिस्टर को तो आर्डर नहीं कर सकते हैं क्या होना चाहिए. सो तो दूसरा मिनिस्ट्री कोई सुनेंगे नहीं जो एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर चेयर करने से. दिस इज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग टू CAB. CAB recommend that we should spend 6% of GDP, but who is going to listen to that? CAB has passed this argument several times, in fact. So I don't think Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog has any relevance. In the 55-page document, it is only advisory and chaired by the HRM, not by the Prime Minister anymore. I have two small points to make to Sukanya. I think very interesting analysis that has been done when about this increase from 10% to 20%. I think if we plot, I think at certain points of time it used to be 13% and 13.5% also. It has come down actually to 10% now. It used to be a little higher, the overall spending that used to be there. Again, on this also, several times there has been suggestions that have been made that there should be a legislation that the public expenditure 20% will go to education, both at the center and the state level. Because at the state level, many of the states are already spending more than 20%. Several states are spending more than 20%. So this legislation should come to the central government also to spend at least 20% legislation. I am saying it is not unusual because Indonesia has a legislation saying that 20% will be spent. I think Brazil has something which has specified that 25% of the expenditure will go to education. It has been specified. There are countries which have dedicated legislation, how much to be spent from the public expenditure. But India has refused. Indian government has refused to really entertain any such thing like legislation. Therefore, this is only a talk. This 10% to 20% has no meaning because this is just a talk and a recommendation that nobody is going to bother about it because it's not a legislative requirement. It's only a recommendation of the policy document that has come. And also one more thing I want to say is that, you know, when you are computing all these things, when the RTE was framed, RTE also looked at different scenarios in terms of financing, what should happen. If we take the KVS salary, what it would be, if other salaries, we had computed that. One more thing that we suggested at that time is that if we want quality is our concern and development in this fashion, across the board we should front load teacher salary, expenditure on teacher salary. That means that right in the first year, we should allocate all the money that is required for filling up all the posts of the teachers. Because if we said that, you know, if you don't fill all the posts of the teachers, then utilization will never happen. How will a school with 200 children and only one teacher spend any money? तो यूटिलाइजेशन तो होगा ही नहीं. हमने कहा कि इसको फ्रंट लोड करो टीचर सैलरी का, and then it will be high expenditure in the first, then it will. Whereas just the opposite was done. It was tapered down. It was not really done in this fashion. It was not allowed to be done in that fashion. And bureaucrats brought in many things saying that वो तो recruitment तो हो ही नहीं सकता है. ऐसा कैसा हो सकता है? 3 महीने में हो सकता है. ऐसा कैसा 1 साल में हो सकता है? The result is that even after 10 years, we have not filled in the teachers' posts. In fact, I think this is a thing. One more thing I want to say is that when we talk of allocation of this 10% or 20%, we should separate out the development expenditure, because quality improvement will come from the development expenditure. Of course, now, you know, with the planning commission going away, there is nothing like development expenditure. If we had done that, then what you pointed out that there are some states which are spending more but they need more money. There is a differential level of development that is there in the state. This is not a new thing, as we know. That 1978 actually Planning Commission made an analysis and identified 9 states, later on 10 states it became, as educationally backward states. And Planning Commission said that Government of India should really intervene through programs and support, financial support, only in these 10 states. In other states it should not go. But what happened with DPEP and SSA is that we will go to all the states. And the DPEP began by going to Kerala, which did not read probably. So I think, you know, this flip-flop that we have done in the policy, which was already identified, now we are you have said this to Finance Commission, but as you said, there is no Planning Commission. Who looks after development? I don't know. Thank you.
My name is Subrat Das. I work with CBGA. So I have a couple of observations and a question for Kiran. I mean, the first observation is with reference to what Professor Govinda has shared in terms of a legislation on how much of the budget should be earmarked for education. I am not particularly in favor of focusing too much on reprioritization of the existing pool, because as we have seen, and that's what Pratibha was also trying to highlight, that when the overall pool is shrinking, then reprioritization becomes very messy, and instead of that we can talk about it, but along with that we should also insist on expansion of the overall quantum of public spending. So India's overall public spending as a percentage of GDP, that is something which defines the fiscal space for the government, and unless that is expanding over time, uh, a mere reprioritization alone will never be adequate. It won't be feasible also, given the intense competition for resources. Secondly, in terms of the whole issue of underutilization, a number of friends and colleagues here have flagged that. I think in every social sector in India, the problems of inadequacy of resources and underutilization of available funds are coexisting. But we need to understand that they are concentrated in different pockets. So typically, based on CBG's analysis in different sectors, I can say that in any social sector, you will find resource shortage or inadequacy more concentrated in those expenditure commitments which are of a longer term nature, where the government has to make a longer term commitment. That's why staff salaries, any types of commitments which require the government to make a long term commitment, in the language of the finance departments, it's a committed liability. So they're averse to committing to such long term liabilities. So we find underfunding or shortage of resources and not really underutilization in those pockets. And there are projects where the government has an exit option. You're delivering a project, you're delivering something for 2 years, 3 years or 5 years. It's not, in the jargon of finance department people, it's not a committed liability. There you find the project funds remaining unutilized or unspent to some extent. So we have to understand that when somebody says there is underutilization of funds, why are you asking for more funds? We need to tell them that because we need more funds for those expenditure commitments which are of a longer term nature. And even in the projects where we find underspending or underutilization, if one expands the time horizon of analysis and looks at what has caused the erosion of the capacity of the system to spend, it is underfunding over the decades which has eroded the capacity to absorb resources. And finally, my question to Kiran, I mean, in the next session, post-lunch session also, we have other colleagues who would be talking about how have different state governments prioritized education in their budgets over the last 5 years. But in my understanding, the ability of any department in a state to command resources in the state budget is not just a function of the priority of the political leadership, it's also a function of their proactiveness, their quality of programming. So what do you see in terms of the quality of initiatives or programming by the education bureaucracy at the subnational level?
I'm Radhika, and I'm sorry I may ask a very silly question because I don't quite totally get it, the budgeting part of it. But coming from the disability arena, I just want to ask you, all these years we've heard that in the SSA and all, 3,500 rupees was given to every child, budgeted for every child with disabilities in our country in education. And just now I'm hearing that for every child we have about 24,000 per year, or how much actually do we spend for every child? And my big worry, and I just want to flag it here because it's something that we see on the ground, all right, is that when you say that this expenditure is becoming less and less, and it is going to affect all the kids who are actually most vulnerable, then that's the time that we have to really think very hard as to, where, how do we budget? How do we argue for a budget? Because it's a question that we in the disability sector have struggled because we have no idea what is the budget, what is being spent. Some items, the same items remain. There is a new law, but there's no budgeting according to it. There are so many things that you're supposed to do which we don't do. So I'd like some guidance from this house today as to how do we actually argue our case in this if we don't have any ideas as to what is being spent. Thank you.
Not that I have too many answers, but yeah, I think Dr. Das has answered the underutilization question very, very well. So just one thing I would like to add is we look at utilization and planning as two separate things, no? A provisioning alag or utilization alag. But utilization and that capacity to spend should be a part of planning, that when you are planning, you are not only determining what the end result is going to be, but how is that going to pan out, and therefore how is that how is the resource that you're planning is going to be utilized. That has to be integrated into planning. And the development planning exercise that was done in the 50s and the 60s used to do that. Yeah, so we never heard about so much of underutilization at that time that we do now. And he's put it very beautifully that that erosion of capacities that has happened over the years is a part of your underspending and under-resourcing in that sense. Yeah, for the disability thing, I completely empathize with you in the sense that of course, we very well recognize that for the disadvantaged groups, for the disabled children, we really need much more than the per capita spending per child. So the figure that I was quoting was per child spending that is required with reasonable salaries, with the RTE kind of infrastructure that has been stipulated, and the system level support that you require, both in terms of academic support and the management. For children with special needs, there is this 3,500 SSA norm. What we did was, in addition to that, while of course it needs to be probably increased manifold, what we did is we indexed it because these norms are set at very old prices. So we indexed it to the current number. So this probably doubles. If you just do a price indexation, it doubles. Plus, there's a 1 lakh allocation for a child who has to be homeschooled. Yeah, that's again one norm that we had used, but I understand it requires much more unpacking, much more deeper thought. I think each sector within the budget needs much deeper thought. Gender budgeting was mentioned. Similarly, disadvantaged groups and children, all the groups that require special efforts for inclusion need to be carried, needs to be much more thought and research into that. So any help in that or collaborations in that is most welcome. I think we should do that. Anything? I would stop here.
So, to answer Subrat's question, which is basically, as many of us are pointing out, there is essentially a problem of erosion of capacity, and that erosion of capacity is most evident at the frontline level, at the sub-state and level, which hampers all aspects. It hampers your ability to plan, it hampers your ability to spend, it hampers your ability to command and demand more resources. Actually, so when I was saying that, we need to unpack the public system, we need to understand exactly where and how these lack of capacities are emerging. So for instance, we had done a study on how the government system monitors schools. So how do they get information of where things are functioning and where they are not, and therefore how can they make the course corrections? And the reality is actually that that entire system is a joke, because you do not have in all the states inspectors. The DEOs or BEOs are often asked to, in their general job description, told to go and monitor schools, but they don't have vehicles, they're not given transport money. They have often, DEOs have double charge. In big states like Rajasthan, etc., schools are far flung. They never actually manage to get there. So they will often ask either CRC or BRC to do it. CRC, BRCs are actually teachers who have been appointed there. They feel very nervous about going to schools where they will come back as teachers, because they don't want to start monitoring them. They are their colleagues and their peers. I mean, there are innumerable systemic, process, structural related problems within the public administration system, which is in addition to the shortages and the other forms of capacity. So the fact even that they have made teachers of the same schools, BRCs, who are then asked to go and monitor, that's a capacity issue. So, but we need to unpack all of these capacity issues if we are to enable the system itself to strengthen, make the demands in the way they need to be made, commandeer those resources. There are any number of capacity constraints, and they're not limited. And of course, there are financial issues there, but they also extend to systemic. And by systemic, I mean these kinds of procedures and processes that we have for very basic functions of delivery. So monitoring is an important function within the government system that needs to be. There are innumerable forms that have been made, again at centralized levels. I mean, NCRT has some very, very elaborate quality monitoring forms. Many of them don't reach the schools, but they are 40 to 50 pages forms with all manner of details. And the teacher is expected to fill it. It's not clear how from a school level that is aggregated. Where does it go? Even the people who do manage to monitor, they go with certain kinds of forms. What happens to those forms? The monthly meetings held in the district office and the block offices are typically dealing with business as usual. Salary pauncha ki nahi, incentives aaya ki nahi. They don't look at those forms. So what happens to them? Do we know? Nothing. So there is no feedback loop to any of that. So as a result of these, and so often you will, BRCs and CRCs that I've spoken to say, actually we want to go back to being teachers because we are completely ineffective. We are unable to do anything. So they're demoralized, completely demoralized lot. Similarly, even BODOs, because of all kinds of constraints, and a lot of them are capacity constraints of different kinds. Often BOs and DOs, they do not even have computer facilities. So you have the education administration, you have a separate SSA administration. Typically the SSA administration is better resource. So there's a lot of tension between the two of them. And so they also feel demoralized versus the SSA people, and they have to borrow their computers off. I mean, they're just small things. These are things, insights that you get only at the decentralized level. But they need to be scaled up and brought to view of anybody who's making policies, so that you know exactly where the problems, and these are not unsought outable problems actually. So when you have a larger narrative which is talking about inefficiency, we need to be able to counter it by saying why there is inefficiency, and that it's not germane to a public system, that these are just administrative issues that need to be sorted out. But unless we know what those are, then we're just talking sort of in the air, and it's very easy for somebody else to say, oh, this is underutilization and this is just that, and therefore there is no point in giving that. So I think it is very, very important for us to look at the frontline bureaucracy and the capacities that are there, human resources, financial resources, but systemic and procedural issues that have come in the way of actually affecting the implement. I mean, the DOs and BOs, I'm sure all of you know, half of their time is spent in court. There are so many why are there so many legal cases? Or if they are legal cases, why are there not a legal resource for them? Why is it that when they have to visit 200 and 300 schools in their district, there is no provision for how they are going to do it? I mean, my point is only we need to unpack the system and need to understand exactly where the problems are, so that one by one, it is going to take time, and one by one we can start to tie up those loose ends and then show that actually the public system can also work. There's nothing, intrinsically wrong with, because that is a narrative that this can't. Everything that the NEP is saying actually shows it doesn't have any faith that the public system can deliver. It is saying that we want public education, but all the suggestions are non-public. They're all non-state, whether it is money, whether it is parallel structures. Parallel structures are all manned by non-state people. They want to reduce the involvement of the bureaucracy to very, very limited things, instead of how they can strengthen the bureaucracy. So we need to understand where the problems in the bureaucracy arise and how we can strengthen those. Then we will start to talk about a properly functioning public education system.
आई जस्ट वांट टू से वन थिंग कि ये जो स्टेटमेंट है अंडर यूटिलाइजेशन है तो और रिसोर्स कितना चाहिए, मतलब नहीं चाहिए, इतना स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड है नहीं. इसलिए बार बार जो किरण बोल रहे थे कि वी नीड टू लुक एट ईच कंपोनेंट्स के कैसा स्पेंडिंग हो रहा है. मैं आपको कुछ एग्जांपल्स दे रही हूँ. फॉर एग्जांपल अभी तो समग्र शिक्षा अभियान है. सर्व शिक्षा अभियान का ही अगर आप सोचेंगे, सेंटर स्टेट दोनों मिल के डिमांड रखते हैं कि एसएससी को रन करने के लिए कितना पैसा चाहिए. आप कोई भी एक प्रोजेक्ट अप्रूवल बोर्ड के मीटिंग्स का मिनट्स ले लीजिए. 2017-18 में डिमांड किया गया था सेंटर स्टेट मिलके कि अराउंड 74,000 करोड़ करीब चाहिए एसएसए को रन करने के लिए, और सेंटर ने कितना दिया है 26,000, और स्टेट का मैचिंग शेयर जो भी आएगा उससे मैक्सिमम 40,000 करोड़ होगा सेंटर स्टेट मिला के. तो आसानी से ये मतलब बहुत स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड देख सकते हैं कि जो मांग रहे हैं उससे काफ़ी कम मिल रहा है. नेचुरली यूसेज भी ऐसा ही होगा. और एक एग्जांपल देना चाहती हूँ कि यूनिट कॉस्ट इज़ सो इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर अंडर यूटिलाइजेशन. सिविल वर्क्स के लिए जो रेट है और सारा स्टेट्स में जो स्टिपुलेटेड रेट है वो इतना कम है कि मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टेट्स का सिविल वर्क्स का पैसा वापस जाता है सेंटर के पास, क्योंकि उस रेट पे वो कोई भी काम, कोई भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का काम करा नहीं सकते हैं. इफ़ यू टेक इन सर्विस टीचर ट्रेनिंग, इसका यूनिट कॉस्ट है 10 दिन के लिए 300 रुपये पर टीचर. सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मतलब यूसेज होगा, ये बहुत मतलब आसानी से हम लोग कह सकते हैं. सो इस अंडर एलोकेशन से ही अंडर यूटिलाइजेशन आ रहा है. दूसरा और एक पॉइंट है कि कब आके ये पैसा स्टेट्स को मिल रहा है या स्कूल को मिल रहा है. अगर 31 मार्च को फाइनेंशियल ईयर ख़त्म होता है एंड मेरा पैसा स्कूल में आके पहुंचता है 1 मार्च या 20th मार्च, तो किस टाइप का चीज़ों में ये स्पेंडिंग होगा. सो दीज आर द क्वेश्चंस वी ऑलवेज नीड टू आस्क. आई मीन बहुत स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड अंडर यूटिलाइजेशन है तो पैसा नहीं दे सकते, ये बोलने से और भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है. और दूसरा चीज़ ये है, हम लोग शायद बाद में ये लेके डिस्कस करेंगे, ओवर टाइम ये जो सारा समग्र शिक्षा अभियान या इस टाइप का जो सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर स्कीम है, यहाँ पे एक परफॉर्मेंस लिंक्ड फाइनेंसिंग के बात हो रहा है. मतलब स्टेट जैसे परफॉर्म करेंगे उस हिसाब से उसको पैसा मिलेगा. जो सारे स्टेट्स ऑलरेडी रिसोर्स से मतलब ज़्यादा पैसा नहीं है एंड अच्छी तरह से परफॉर्म नहीं कर रहे, अब के लिए अगर उसको और पनिश किया जाएगा, परफॉर्मेंस नहीं कर पा रहे तो और कम पैसा आएगा, तो नेचुरली ये और भी खराब सिचुएशन में जाएगा. मतलब इन टर्म्स ऑफ यूटिलाइजेशन एंड एलोकेशन एंड आउटकम. इन टर्म्स ऑफ एजुकेशन सेस 3% ऑफ इनकम टैक्स एजुकेशन सेस पे जाते हैं, जिसमें 2% है एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन के लिए. मैंने जैसे कहा ये 2% समग्र शिक्षा अभियान एंड मिड डे मील के लिए यूज़ हो रहा है. मैं आपको एग्जैक्ट अमाउंट नहीं बता पाऊँगी, बट पर ये मैं बोलना चाहती हूँ, समग्र शिक्षा अभियान का जो टोटल बजट है इस साल में, उसका 68% एजुकेशन सेस से फाइनेंस हो रहा है. जो एजुकेशन सेस का ये पर्पस था कि ये सप्लीमेंटरी होके आएगा, बट अभी ग्रॉस बजटरी सपोर्ट हुआ 32% एंड एजुकेशन सेस से फाइनेंस हो रहा है बाकी 68%. मतलब इससे आप अंदाज़ा लगा सकते हैं कि एजुकेशन सेस का किस टाइप का अमाउंट से आ रहा है. थर्ड, राधिका जी ने कहा था कि जो शुकरनंदी ने भी बताई, बट द चिल्ड्रन, द डिसेबल्ड चिल्ड्रन के लिए जो 3,000 रुपीज़ अभी दिया जा रहा है, 3,500 नहीं, आई थिंक 3,000 जो भी हो, तो दैट इज़ वेरी स्पेसिफिक फॉर दिस चिल्ड्रन. बट जब ये कैलकुलेशन हो रहा है फॉर द पर चाइल्ड स्पेंडिंग, दैट इज़ इंक्लूडिंग एवरीथिंग, टीचर, स्कूल, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, जिसमें हम लोग एज्यूम कर रहे हैं कि कोई भी देयर इज़ नो अदर कैटेगरी फॉर ऑल चिल्ड्रन. इफ़ ऑल चिल्ड्रन आर इन स्कूल तो कितना खर्चा होगा, उस हिसाब से पर चाइल्ड स्पेंडिंग कैलकुलेट होता है. सो 24 मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि चिल्ड्रन विद डिसेबिलिटी के लिए डिसेबल्ड चिल्ड्रन के लिए 3,500 है एंड बाकी चिल्ड्रन के लिए 24,000 पर एनम है. So this is the difference. मतलब 3,500 specific for additional for their specific. I think this is a scholarship for this. Yeah.
But it's
No, that is addition. I mean, it's not. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to add that the underutilization का और एक part है. मैंने PAB minutes देख रही थी कि I don't know how scams happen, क्योंकि वो first installment देने के बाद बोलते हैं audited accounts मिले तब हम second installment देंगे, and वो different states का different capability है कि जल्दी से audited accounts देने के लिए, और वो देख के लगते हैं कि कोई scams होना नहीं चाहिए if it's such a problem. Utilization, yeah, but utilization certificate भी signed and all वो करना इतना आसान नहीं है. हमारे छोटा सा organization है, हम जानते हैं कितनी time लगते हैं इसके लिए ही, तो वो तो मुश्किल है. And the other thing is that the budgetary process, at least the centrally sponsored schemes, it's clear that you make a budget, I mean, ask for a certain amount and then they decide, approve करते हैं. State का क्या process है हमें ज़्यादा मालूम नहीं है. इतना तो है कि जो existing system है उसको वो maintain करना है. But so many states don't fill up the retired teachers का post by new teachers, and then school maintenance नहीं होता है, so gradually quality खराब होता है, तो वो process का भी कोई, is there any written thing, any process there?
In fact, it's not at all clear कि हाँ नहीं, और उस स्टेट में आने के बाद वो स्कूल तक कितना पहुंचता है, कि स्कूल को कितना मिलता है, उस पर भी कोई क्लैरिटी नहीं है कि प्रोसेस क्या है. फर्स्टली इवन स्कूल डेवलपमेंट प्लान किस तरह से बनता है, टिपिकली डाइस फॉर्मेट इज व्हाट आई हैव हर्ड इज व्हाट दे सेंड अप, उसको कैसे एग्रीगेट करते हैं, फिर उसका स्टेट बजट से क्या ताल्लुक रहता है, स्टेट AWP बनाता है, एंड देन वापस जब उनको जो पैसे मिलते हैं वो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कैसे होते हैं, वी हैव नो आइडिया. देयर इज नो
critical level of the human resources in the field level. In the school and surrounding the school, if you don't maintain a critical level of human resources, it may not be 100%. Maybe it is 65%, 70%. If you don't maintain, then it is impossible to really think in terms of the development and therefore utilization. So utilization will fall if you don't have. But unfortunately, we have never reached in terms of the critical mass of human resources in any state in the education department. If you look at elementary education, everywhere it is less than the 65-70% level. Particularly teacher recruitment.
Don't
That's
talk
why
about
it
it
suffers.
also. Actually, everything is put on the teacher only. We don't realize that actually the functioning of the teacher is so much dependent on all those surrounding officials as well. And which is why it's so easy to then say, teacher absenteeism and all sorts of accountability at the school classroom level. If you fix the system, then you don't have to blame the teacher, and then you don't have to provide incentives and bring in private schooling, because then the system will work.
I think अभी lunch break है, and we have to come back in 45 minutes. Or
We
40
can come back at 2:15, like quick lunch for half an hour. Lunch has been served just outside.